My dad said, "Help your sister first." So I canceled the interview, but when she walked in with my resume and took the job I dreamed of, I learned family can be the sharpest betrayal. I'm Nate Harper, 24, the kid who keeps the family Wi-Fi alive and the printer fed. Dad, Robert, polishes the image of a perfect household like his Sunday shoes. Mom, Linda, hunts HOA compliments the way other people hunt bargains. Emma, my older sister, is future leadership material, though her resume is basically 2 summer projects and a LinkedIn course she didn't finish. For a year I trained for one shot, a product design panel at Harlow and Penn in Chicago. I built wireframes in Figma till 2 a.m., memorized case studies, timed my answers with a kitchen timer, printed a portfolio book at FedEx for $41.82. I even bought a spare blazer, navy, slim fit, because the last thing I wanted was to look student. Panel date locked. Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Loop office. Visitor badge pre-approved under Nathaniel Harper. 3 days before, Dad corners me at the island, tapping his phone like a gavel. "Help your sister first. She's got a co-working presentation." Tuesday, 5 p.m. I say calm, that Thursday is my final interview. He doesn't look up. Family comes first. When he says it like that, it's not a value. It's a lever. Mom sets down a casserole and adds, "It'll look good if our kids present well. Both of you." Emma leans in, scrolling through Pinterest decks. "Your graphics would help me more," she says, like it's a compliment. At dinner, Dad pitches it to the table like a board vote. "Son, share your materials. Emma won't let us down." He's smiling, but his eyes dare me to be difficult. Emma giggles, "Don't worry, I'll give you junior designer credit," and everyone laughs like that's cute. I do the math in my head. If I help her Tuesday, I can still travel Wednesday and recover. I say yes because I'm conditioned to, and because I don't want a household tribunal. Tuesday, 1 p.m. I'm at her shared desk at Stanley Yard Cowork. I open my MacBook, plug in the USB-C hub, and pull up my Harlow case. Scan cart, reducing checkout abandoned by 18%. I strip my name, keep the structure, rebuild her problem statements, member churn, onboarding friction, metrics by cohort. I export slides at 1920 by 1080, drop in her color palette, even record a 60-second opener she can memorize. She tries my blazer on, just to see fit, and doesn't take it off. 5 p.m., lights low, string bulbs twitching. Emma walks on stage in my navy blazer, hair blown out, AirPods still in like she's post-call. I stand off to the side with a clicker and a backup HDMI. She opens with my line, "We ship value, not features." Rides the beats clean, then clicks onto the Harlow case mockups I rebuilt into her fitness circle concept. People nod. A guy in a Patagonia vest whispers, "Clean flow." Then she pulls a stunt. Slide 13 is my resume template, but the name reads Emma Harper. Same layout, same tools. Figma, Framer, SQL Basics, same reduced abandon by 18%. The crowd claps. Emma smiles and says, "Couldn't have done it without my junior assistant. Nathan, wave." Phones pivot. I feel heat crawl up my neck. Junior assistant. I built the numbers, the screens, the talk track. She swapped the names. My phone buzzes. Dad in the family thread. Proud. Mom. Look at our girl. A neighbor. Leadership. No one asks how the work happened. After the Q&A, Emma clinks a LaCroix against my water bottle and hisses, "See? Teamwork." I say, very quiet, "You owe me my Thursday." She rolls her eyes. "Relax. You'll have more interviews." I get home and pull up Instagram. At m.harper has posted 8 stories. Boomerangs of applause. A slow pan across slide 13. A selfie in my blazer. Over the pan, text reads, "So grateful for my junior." The last clip is a swipe up to her Calendly. I reply from my burner design account with a dot, just to screenshot the highlight bar. Timestamp, 7:42 p.m. I open Gmail to confirm my flight, O'Hare, 8:15 a.m., and freeze. There's a cancellation notice at 7:51 p.m. Traveler initiated change. I never changed it. I scroll further. An email at 6:09 p.m. from Mom's iCloud. She's on our family calendar. Conflict? Emma's debrief breakfast Thursday 9 a.m. She declined my calendar block and called the airline with the booking code visible in our kitchen command center. Paper trail? None, except the automailer. At 8:03 p.m., Dad calls speakerphone from the den. Son, about Thursday. Help your sister with follow-ups. Harlow can reschedule. Family comes first. He says it like gravity. I hear the TV in the background. Golf commentators gentle as lies. I stare at the corkboard where my visitor badge would have gone and feel something harden behind my ribs. I don't shout. I print the cancellation email, the traveler-initiated line, the Instagram stories, the clip where she thanks her junior assistant, the photo of my blazer tag, H&M 38R, inside her story mirror. I staple everything into a manila folder labeled EMMA, Sycamore. I open notes and type, rule accepted. Compliance begins. Then I hang the blazer back in my closet, power down the MacBook, and set a 5:30 a.m. alarm I no longer need. At 7:12 a.m., my phone lights with a 312 number. I let it ring once, then answer. Nate? This is Priya from Harlow and Penn. We know whose work this is. Her tone is surgical, not consoling. She explains they received 2 packets, one labeled Emma Harper, one mine from the earlier screen. Their tech recruiter pulled file metadata. The design lead opened my Figma links and checked version history. Engineering skimmed the Git sandbox tied to my test. My authorship shows up like a watermark. Timestamps, component names, commit hashes. Emma's file is a fork with late edits and messy layer names. Rectangle 23 copy. Priya says, we're moving you forward today. Skip the on-site. Panel tomorrow at 10:30 by Zoom. Portfolio live share. Then she adds, almost as an aside, we've notified a few local coordinators. She's on a do not hire list for now. I write it down exactly as she says it, with the time. Downstairs, Dad is buttering toast like he's prepping a courtroom exhibit. I tell them H&P called. Mom tilts her head. Don't dramatize. This is family share. Dad doesn't look up. Emma knows how to present. Learn from her polish. Emma slides into a chair in my blazer. Still mine. Scrolling her DMs. Told you, teamwork. I hold up a printed Figma history page. No one looks. I tape it to the fridge next to the orthodontist magnet. At 6:40 p.m., I go to a city product meetup at the brewery on 9th. Emma is on the slate, case study, reducing churn with onboarding. The moderator ribs her, author of that viral co-working talk, and the crowd hums approval. She opens my beats again, rides them cleaner now, then lands on slide 13, her name on my skeleton resume. The moderator beams, brava to the author. My pulse ticks. I raise my hand. Question on authorship. Could you speak to Figma version control and whose account owns the... A violin squeal of chairs, then groans. Someone in back boos. Not the place for a family spat. A woman near the bar says, let women win, dude. Without turning, I sit, take out my phone and film 30 silent seconds of the slide. Slow pan to the moderator's grin, then the program flyer with date and address. I airdrop it to myself under Emma, Meetup VID1. The guy beside me in a Patagonia vest watches my screen and mutters, petty. I whisper, documenting, and he shrugs into his IPA. By 9:18 p.m., the cousins' chat is a bonfire. A meme of me photoshopped holding Emma's laptop with the caption, Jealous Nate. A boomerang of my blazer with property of Big Sis. I mute the thread and forward the worst ones to a folder named Chorus. Proof. That label calms me. Files beat feelings. 2 small freelance leads evaporate overnight. A PM I respect writes, we're going to pass. Got some concerning DMs. Attached are cropped screenshots of my drafts with captions like, pattern theft, and he begged me for help. The sender is private account. I check the EXIF on the images scrubbed. I reply with my Figma history link and a bullet list of versions, plus a timestamped loom where I rebuild a component live. No response. It stings, but the sting has shape now. reputational drag measured in hours and keystrokes. So I reset the board. I open a fresh notion called Ledger. Pages, timeline, evidence, contacts, risk. I log everything with UTC offsets. The airline cancellation, mom's calendar decline, my email to H&P, Priya's call, the meetup video, the cousins memes, the anonymous DMs. I export my Figma version tree to PDF and print it at the 24-hour shop for $6.43. I buy a gray 3-ring binder, tab it with neon flags, airline, IG stories, meetup, H&P, family thread. I add a cover sheet, Harper versus narrative. At 11:07 a.m. the next day, Priya's Zoom panel starts. 3 faces, design lead, PM, engineer. I screen share, click into inspect to show token usage, open the component library, then jump into my Git sandbox to explain the test harness. I keep my voice at accountant level. No eloquence, just receipts. The engineer smiles when I step through an error I left on purpose in /util/date.ts and fix it live. After, Priya emails, next steps. References, comp range $78 to $92,000. Equity band B1. I file it under H&P, offer track and do not tell my family. At home, Dad wants me to film Emma's thank you reel. I say I have work. He calls me small. Mom whispers heartless. Emma posts a black and white story. Some people can't stand to see you shine. Heart reacts bloom under it like algae. I stop defending. I start notarizing. I schedule a $25 consult with a career attorney to ask how to respond to defamation without setting fire. I switch my LinkedIn to connections only, turn on login alerts, and move my portfolio to a custom domain with hot link protection. I disable public Figma comments, enable link expiration, and generate read-only exports for recruiters. I set up a Proton alias for job stuff and a separate calendar that no one in the kitchen can decline. That night, while the house watches a baking show, I step onto the porch with my binder and a Pilot G2. I write one line under rules, no debates, only documentation. Then I add a second, go to the wall. I move into a $940 2-bed on the edge of Austin with Dylan Scott, a quiet IT guy who treats routers like bonsai, patient snips, long view. He was burned by his own brother over a probate fight. We sign month to month, pay first and last, split utilities on Splitwise. My room has a rattling window unit, a thrifted desk, and a corkboard labeled ledger in Sharpie. Days I haul boxes at a distribution warehouse off Ben White, steel toe boots, pallet jacks, RF gun beeping SKUs. Nights I rebuild my portfolio under a pen name, N. Harlan. With a scavenged ThinkPad and a $9 flea market lamp that smells faintly of ozone. Aunt Nancy is the only one who calls. Proud of you, she says, voice like a wool blanket. She sends a $50 HEB card and a screenshot of a block chat with my mom. Caption, keeping distance. Keep receipts. I file it under Chorus, Mercy. Then the grime starts. My microgrant application. $1. $500 for an accessibility prototype. Flags an anonymous complaint alleging I lied on forms, claiming my team is actually my sister's. The committee pauses the review. A tiny sponsor for my open-source date picker bails after receiving a chopped confession, pasted from 2 old interviews. The email subject reads, character concerns. The sender's address is new, the cadence familiar. One Tuesday, 11:43 p.m. I come home from the late warehouse shift. The front door is barely snagged on the latch, not kicked, just nudged past brass. My room smells wrong, hot plastic. The SD card case I keep in the top drawer is open. 3 cards gone. My 50mm lens has a fingernail scratch arcing like a sick smile. On the wall above the corkboard, black marker, stay in your lane. The line is straight, printed, no wobble. Calm hands. We call non-emergency. APD shows at 1:02 a.m. 2 officers who look tired of pinballing through other people's messes. They find a pinhole camera tucked behind the blind's valance, angled at my desk. No obvious forced entry, one says. And the lock's a cheap quickset. Hard to prove, especially if it's family. He offers a card and a case number. I write it in ledger. 23 to 547,118. Officer Lujan/Lenore, camera bagged. Dylan tightens his jaw. We'll swap the locks tomorrow. He means we'll, because he always does. He boils water, drops tea bags, lines up 2 chipped mugs, and pretends the stain on the wall doesn't exist. I photograph the marker message with a ruler in frame, then a video sweep that includes the clock and my face. I print stills at 24-hour Walgreens and slip them into a clear sleeve. Evidence makes the fear sit down. I stop uploading for a week. I stare at a blank timeline in Premiere, the sound meter idling like a sleeping heartbeat. The warehouse shift feels safer than my room. At least forklifts beep when they reverse. Messages pile up. A recruiter nibbles. A friend asks if I'm still salty. Emma posts a story of a Sharpie drawing on a whiteboard. Stay in your lane. Smiley face. I don't screenshot it. I record my phone recording it with the date widget visible. She's careful. I'm carefuler. On Friday, Aunt Nancy calls again. You don't quit because they're loud, she says. You can leave a field, but not because you were shoved. Dylan hears half the call, sets down 2 iced coffees from the corner gas station, and says, if you walk, do it by choice, not because they broke you. His eyes are level. He lost 2 Christmases to a brother's temper. His compass knows where enough lives, so I choose the wall. I buy a $39 Ubiquiti camera for the hallway and a $29 Wise for my room, both on rolling local SD with daily offloads to an encrypted SSD labeled Tally. I add a $17 door sensor that pings my phone when the frame changes state. I log MAC addresses for every device that touches our Wi-Fi, reserve DHCP by hostname, and lock remote admin behind a long passphrase plus a hardware key. I set up Proton Bridge on the ThinkPad and route sensitive mail through an alias that rotates monthly. I harden the N Harlan stack. Figma. View-only links. Expiry 48 hours. Comments off. Git. Signed commits. Release tags. A contributing.md that clarifies authorship. Portfolio. Static build on a minimal host with hot link protection and a soft watermark embedded in SVGs. Microscopic dots at X. 37. Y. 91 spelling NH in binary. I start exporting audit trails nightly at 2:10 a.m. Edit histories, access logs, IPs. Every file drops into evidence/vault/YYYYMMDD. I file a brief with the grant committee. 1 page, bulletproof tone. Allegation rebuttal attached. Figma version history, pages 2 to 7. Git commit map, page 8. Signed commits. GPG key fingerprint 1E, 9C, 45, 2F. I don't accuse. I lay planks. They reply, thank you. We're reinstating review pending board vote. I add the email to the binder, tab grant. At midnight Sunday, I sit under the rattle of the window unit and add a new rule to ledger. When they smear, increase clarity. I rewrite my about page in first person. No heroics. Dates, numbers, failures. I add a post titled, What I Owe and What I Don't. 3 paragraphs, flat voice. I don't mention family. I don't need to. The camera blinks red, steady as a heartbeat. The marker stain on the wall is now hidden by a cheap framed print. A tiny lighthouse with the caption, in lowercase, hold fast. We go quiet and get methodical. Dylan and I encrypt backups with Veracrypt. OneDrive goes into Aunt Nancy's kitchen freezer, inside a zip bag labeled peas. We replace the cheap quickset with a Schlage deadbolt and a reinforced strike plate. I log every code change like a changelog. I build an access ledger, device IDs, MACs, DHCP leases, IP blocks that touched my portfolio. The hallway camera gets a fresh SD card every Sunday. Each card gets a Sharpedate and drops into the vault box. Through an incubator contact, I find an IP attorney named Reyes. Steady voice, meticulous eyebrows. First meeting is $250, worth every cent. He flips through my binder, nods at the tabbed sections, then says, don't go public until you're ready. Build the case, hit once. He outlines lanes, authorship proofs, Figma, Git, email headers, damages, lost gigs, grant delay, and conduct, harassment, the break-in. You don't need to accuse names, he says. You need to show facts marching in one direction. We agree on a letter template for when the moment comes. Neutral, precise, CC to people who matter. In parallel, I start interviewing others who've worn the same bruise. A musician in Tulsa whose label borrowed a chorus for a TV spot and called it Temp. A designer in Phoenix whose brother repackaged her portfolio to land a contract. He even kept the alt text. A QA tester in Denver whose meticulous bug sheets were swapped out by a coworker, then used to argue for his promotion. I record everything with consent forms in frame, date stamps burned in. No tantrums, just receipts. I cut a mini-doc in Premiere, negative space. The title card is plain white on black, 1.5 seconds each, like breath. It's emails, metadata overlays, the pinhole camera on a Lazy Susan, the rec desk, and that marker line. Stay in your lane. Shot with a polarizer so the ink shines like oil. Voiceover is spare who, when proof. I keep myself off camera except for hands and the click of a mouse. Aunt Nancy previews it and says, "It doesn't shout. That's the point." I post a 60-second teaser, no names, all timestamps. A small film blog picks it up. Then an editor at a Denver Microfestival emails an invite. Screening slot, Sunday 5:30 p.m., Q&A after. I print the email and slide it behind the grant tab just to feel the weight of paper. Right then, a truce dinner. Mom texts from her number with a softened tone. "Let's reset. Sunday, 1 p.m., Sycamore Grill, your favorite." Aunt Nancy warns me to bring a recorder. I show up in a plain shirt, pocket recorder on, phone in airplane mode, pen ready. Emma is already there, poised like a brochure. New tote, my blazer again, this time with the cuffs rolled. Dad slides a blue folder across the table. "Family partnership," he says like a pastor blessing bread. The draft appoints me director of growth for Emma's consultancy. Rights, branding, and IP sit with her. Revenue split is at sole manager's discretion. My name appears once. Her powers run half a page. Dad says, "This keeps it in the family." Mom says, "We can fix perception if we move as one." Emma tops it with, "You're good at cleanup." I don't argue. I read silently, take photos of each page with the timestamp visible on my watch, and slide the folder into my messenger bag. "I'll review," I say. Dad's jaw tightens. "Don't be ungrateful." I settle the bill in cash, leave the receipt folded in the folder, and walk out to the parking lot where the wind smells like fried onions and asphalt. Reyes reads the draft the next morning and laughs once. A single bark. "Predatory and sloppy," he says, then writes me a bullet list of what not to sign and how to respond. "Thank you. Unavailable for partnership. All future references must correctly attribute authored works. See attached record." He attaches a one-page timeline summary that looks like it belongs in a deposition. At the Denver premiere, the room is nearly full. Folding chairs squeak. A projector hums like an old fridge. I sit in the back row, palms open on my knees. When the "stay in your lane" frame lands, the room goes still, the kind of quiet that has edges. After, the applause is real, not charity. A programmer shakes my hand and slips me a card. A reporter asks for quotes. A startup founder says, "We have a role. Send the reel." On my way out, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Cute movie. Careful." I add it to the ledger and keep walking. By June, Emma's name starts doing a strange kind of work for me. In Slack groups I'm in under my real name again, Emid becomes a verb. This deck got Emid. And HR people I've never met ask for my packet to educate stakeholders. A regional recruiting listserv forwards Reyes's neutral memo with my exhibit tabs. 2 meetups that once clapped for her yank her talks after they review the evidence binder. A podcast edits an episode to remove her segment. They publish a soft correction. Portfolio misattribution. I print the correction and slide it behind chorus. Proof. The pile is no longer shame. It's ballast. Dad has a mild stroke. TIA, the kind that scares you into paperwork. I visit the hospital at 6:10 a.m., sit by his bed, and watch the heart monitor draw careful hills. He looks smaller in the gown. Mom sends me long iCloud notes about family values and the optics of lawsuits. Settle quietly, she writes. We're exhausted. She signs them Mom, like the role itself is a plea. I reply once, accountability, not hush. I attach Reyes's one-pager that lists what a real settlement would look like. Attribution fixes, removals, statements, costs. Their side floats two-piece offers through a family friend who isn't representing anyone. Offer 1. I join Emma's company as head of methodology. NDA for 5 years, small stipend, no apology. Offer 2. They regret misunderstandings. I agree not to comment further. They'll mutually delete posts. Both are hollow, no corrections, no responsibility. We decline in 2 sentences. Reyes sees everyone polite enough to be dangerous. The industry shifts under her feet. A festival in Portland pulls her submission, citing authorship review. 2 partners quietly disappear from her LinkedIn. The dates change to present. A talent coordinator forwards me an email chain where Emma argues that familial collaboration means attribution is fluid. A reply at the bottom, not here. I file it. One rainy Thursday, 11:41 p.m. There's a soft knock at my apartment. The hallway camera catches her. Hair unstyled, sweatshirt tugged over her hands, face without the confidence makeup she wears to panels. Dylan looks at me, question in his eyes. I open the door, chain on. Emma's voice is sanded down. I was always supposed to be better, she says. That's how they raised me. She doesn't ask to come in. She doesn't reach. I hit record on my pocket device, thumb already on the button. I tell her I accept her apology for myself. I do not offer the case. She nods like she expected that and leaves, shoulders hunched against the drizzle. I write the time in ledger and sit on the floor until the kettle clicks off. Discovery is boring and holy. Screenshots turn into affidavits. Figma diffs become exhibits. The hallway camera footage gets logged as demonstrative only. We depose, slowly, politely. Dad says on the record that family comes first. I say on the record that it did until it meant I didn't. When opposing counsel tries the word petty, Reyes lays down a timeline from the airline cancellation to the stay in your lane wall. The room quiets like theaters do right before the lights go down. A few months later, 9:32 a.m., courtroom 4B, the judge reads the ruling. Public apologies posted where the false claims lived for no less than 90 days. Removal of misattributed work from platforms and reels within 10 days. Nominal damages plus costs. A no-contact order except through counsel for 12 months. The clerk stamps it. The sound is small and final. Emma looks at the table, not at me. Mom dabs her eyes like the ending is a surprise. Dad grips the pew and won't sit. I stand there feeling nothing dramatic, just a steady untying in the chest, like a not giving up. The company whose on-site I missed emails me permission to use our file in an ethics brown bag. I log into Zoom and walk a room of engineers through how to check authorship without drama. A second company pulls me into final rounds, panel with a PM, an accessibility lead, a designer who asks kind questions. None of them have ever met Emma. We talk about how to keep credit straight and how to move fast without blurring names. When they ask my salary band, I answer calmly. When they ask my start date, I say, soon. The word tastes like clean water. I accept the offer with a product team in Minneapolis, $88, $500 base, B1 equity, relocation stipend $2,000. Dylan takes the Monday off, helps me drive the rented Penske up I-35, yellow cab rattling behind a U-Haul of my books. We stop in Des Moines for gas and diner coffee that tastes like old coins. Aunt Nancy tracks our progress on Life 360 and texts, slow down every hour. When we roll in at 9:14 p.m., she's already at my walk-up with a peach pie and 2 oven mitts shaped like moose. The apartment is a 1-bed with creaky radiators and a balcony overlooking a strip of maples. I build a desk out of sawhorses and a hollow core door, line up my binders, ledger, chorus, Grant. Then put them on a shelf I label archive. The schlag goes on the door. The hallway camera watches, now more ritual than fear. I hang the hold-fast lighthouse above the monitor and breathe. Day 1, HR photo, badge printed at 10:07 a.m. My manager, Noor, says, "We hired you for clarity." I spend the first week auditing onboarding flows. Week 2, I write a doc called Credit Hygiene, how to name commits, how to keep authorship straight, how to celebrate as a team without eating the individual. It's 3 pages and 1 diagram with arrows that don't cross. Engineering adopts it. Applause in Slack is quiet but quick. I launch a short video series, 5 minutes each, called Authors and Edges. Episode 1, Attribution versus Access. Episode 2, When Collaboration Isn't Consent. I film on my balcony at golden hour with a $29 lav mic and a cardboard bounce. Views stay small and stubborn. Comments are steady. A teacher whose principal took her grant. A junior dev whose lead polished his PR into a promotion. I answer nightly for an hour, timer set, boundaries on. I mentor 2 juniors, both first gen. We meet Tuesdays at 7:30 a.m. over oatmeal and black coffee. I make them keep a changelog of their weeks, not to prove worth to anyone, but so they can see themselves moving. Once a month we practice saying, "This part is mine," out loud. Then here is where it ends. We laugh at how weird it sounds, and then it sounds less weird. Family stays at arm's length. Mom sends passive-aggressive notes that begin, "If only you had," and end with, "We're praying." I forward them to counsel and archive. Dad texts a photo of his blood pressure cuff with good numbers. I reply with a thumbs up and a line, "Wishing you health." Emma's required apology runs out its 90 days. She replaces it with a pastel quote about forgiveness. I don't screenshot it. My ledger doesn't need it. When our HR team asks to share our case at a conference, I say yes. The slide titles are procedural. Receipts, not rage. How to check the work. How to write a correction. I walk through the binder like a museum tour. No villains, only choices. After, a woman in a mustard blazer says, "I thought I was alone." I hand her a 1-pager that starts, "You are not." On Saturdays I bike the Midtown Greenway with thin gloves and a cheap bell that sounds like a polite thought. I learn the smell of the Mississippi under the Franklin Bridge, cold iron and damp newspaper. I buy a pour-over cone and a bag of beans I can't pronounce, and every night I stand on the balcony while the city hums, and I pour slow circles until the bloom deflates. I don't want revenge. It already arrived as consequences wearing neutral fonts. I want steadiness. I want a calendar that no one else declines. I want to be paid for the work I do and measured by the work I ship. Noor puts me on a roadmap item with a messy legacy thread. I cut it into clean tickets, and the team breathes like a room that found a window. The old artifacts live where they should. Her do not hire email sits archived under exhibits. Ethics. My court copy sits in a fireproof bag with passports and the title to a dented Civic. The badge from the company I missed hangs on a small hook by the door, plastic smiling. The blazer I once lost to a stage lives on a hanger in my closet. Sometimes I wear it to 1:1S, sometimes to the grocery store, just to desacralize it. Once, late, a message pings from a kid at a co-work. They said I was a junior. I send back a checklist, timestamps, links, component names, and write, "You're the author. Let's keep you that way." Then I close the laptop, step onto the balcony, and count breaths until the city and I are the same quiet size.